The pharmacy inside the small-town grocery store was a familiar hub of activity. The soft hum of fluorescent lights mixed with the occasional beeps of registers and the rustle of shopping bags. It was an ordinary weekday afternoon, and the scene carried a comforting blend of routine and life. Shoppers wandered the aisles with baskets in hand, picking out items from neatly stacked shelves. Employees moved briskly, restocking goods and tidying displays, their name tags slightly askew from the rush of the day. From my vantage point near the pharmacy counter, I noticed a young mother juggling a restless toddler while consulting with the pharmacist about over-the-counter remedies. Behind her, an older man clutched a shopping list, squinting at the rows of colorful pill bottles as though willing one to leap into his basket. Amid this unassuming scene, a small drama began to unfold at the pharmacy counter. An elderly woman stood there, her frail hands trembling as she fumbled with a coin purse. She was petite, her back slightly hunched, and her coat, once stylish but now worn, hung loosely on her thin frame. Her face was etched with lines that spoke of a life lived with resilience. But in that moment, her expression was one of deep distress. "I'm telling you," the cashier said sharply, his voice cutting through the quiet murmur of the store. "We can't let you take the medication unless you pay the full amount. That's the policy." "Please," the woman whispered, her voice heavy with desperation, as if every word carried the burden of her struggles. "I just need a little more time. I can bring the rest tomorrow, I promise." The cashier, a young man with an air of impatience, crossed his arms and shook his head. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but that's not how it works." The exchange drew the attention of a few nearby customers, myself included. Discomfort rippled through the air as people cast sidelong glances, unwilling to intervene but too uneasy to look away. The woman's attempts to explain her situation, how her fixed income had been stretched thin by unexpected expenses, were met with the same unyielding response. I found myself shifting awkwardly, torn between wanting to step in and the fear of making things worse. It was a stark reminder of the silent struggles that often go unnoticed in the hustle of everyday life. That's when I saw him. At first, he seemed like just another shopper, dressed casually in a dark hoodie and jeans. But there was something unmistakable about the way he carried himself, an unspoken confidence that seemed almost out of place in the modest setting. As he moved closer, the faint light from the pharmacy counter caught his face, and my heart skipped. Elon Musk, a man synonymous with innovation and reshaping industries, was here, in this small-town grocery store. I barely had time to process the improbability of his presence before my attention snapped back to the counter. Musk had stopped a few feet away, observing the interaction with a furrowed brow. The cashier, unaware of who had joined the growing cluster of onlookers, continued to insist on adhering to store policy, his tone growing increasingly curt. The woman's shoulders sagged, her voice now barely above a whisper as she pleaded for understanding. Musk stepped forward, his movement quiet but deliberate. His presence, even without introduction, commanded attention, and the tension in the air shifted. Heads turned, and the cashier hesitated mid-sentence, his eyes darting toward Musk. Even before Musk spoke, his expression conveyed volumes. A calm authority mingled with a deep empathy that seemed to steady the room. The contrast was stark. A woman on the verge of tears, a cashier locked in rigid policies, and a man known for reshaping the impossible now preparing to intervene in something as fundamentally human as an act of compassion. What would he say? What would he do? The air felt electric with anticipation. If you're as curious as I was about what happens next, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that celebrate acts of kindness and humanity. A murmur spread through the small gathering of onlookers. Most avoided eye contact with the elderly woman, their discomfort palpable. I felt my fists clench involuntarily, torn between stepping forward to help and the fear of making things worse. And then Musk spoke. "Excuse me," he said, his voice calm but firm. The room seemed to shift as heads turned toward him, his presence undeniable. Musk stepped closer to the counter, his expression even but unmistakably serious. "Are you telling me there's no way to make an exception here? No way to help this woman in her time of need?" The cashier, caught off guard, stammered, I I don't set the policies, sir. It's store protocol." Musk's gaze didn't waver. "Policies exist for a reason," he said, his tone steady but with a sharp undercurrent. "But so does compassion. If your protocol leaves no room for basic humanity, maybe it's time to rethink it." The murmurs grew louder as the bystanders exchanged glances, their curiosity shifting into admiration. The elderly woman, clutching her purse with trembling hands, looked up at Musk with wide, tear-filled eyes. "I don't know what to say," she whispered, her voice breaking. "You don't have to say anything," Musk replied gently, his tone softening as he turned to her. "This isn't your fault. No one should have to choose between affording medication and putting food on the table." The cashier, now visibly uncomfortable, shifted his weight from one foot to the other. "Sir, I'll need to get the manager." "Please do," Musk said, crossing his arms. "I'd be happy to discuss this further." As the cashier disappeared into the back, Musk turned back to the woman. "Don't worry," he said, his voice steady and reassuring. "We'll sort this out." Watching this unfold felt surreal. Musk wasn't just intervening. He was commanding the moment with a blend of authority and empathy that left no room for argument. It was the kind of leadership that didn't just solve problems but inspired others to rethink their own actions. The manager arrived moments later, his expression a mix of irritation and confusion. But before he could speak, Musk cut in. "Let me save you some trouble," he said. "I'll pay for her medication, and I'd like to suggest that this store review its policies to ensure situations like this don't happen again." The manager hesitated, his demeanor quickly shifting as he recognized Musk. "Mr. Musk," he began, his tone deferential, "I'm sure we can find a way to accommodate this." "Good," Musk said, his tone lightening slightly. "Because no one should be treated this way, especially not someone already dealing with so much." The woman gasped softly, her hands flying to her mouth. "You don't have to do this," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "I know," Musk replied, offering her a kind smile. "But I want to." The transaction was completed quickly after that, the manager eager to expedite the process. Musk handed the bag of medication to the woman, who took it with trembling hands. "Thank you," she said, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you so much." Musk placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Take care of yourself and your husband," he said. "And if you ever need help again, don't be afraid to ask." As the woman walked away, her gratitude evident in every step, Musk turned back to the manager. "I'm serious about what I said earlier," he added. "Policies should protect people, not create barriers. If you need resources to make that happen, let me know. I'll help." The manager nodded, his demeanor now one of respect. "Understood, sir." To me, this wasn't just about paying for medication or challenging a policy. It was a moment that revealed the depth of Musk's character. He didn't just see a problem, he addressed it with action and compassion. As I stood there, watching the other customers whispering in admiration, I knew I wasn't the only one who had been profoundly moved by what had just happened. Musk's presence had turned an ordinary day into an extraordinary one. I watched as the store manager, clearly moved, hesitated for a moment before approaching Musk. "Mr. Musk," he began cautiously, "I want to apologize for how this was handled. We could do better." Musk gave a small nod, his expression thoughtful but kind. "Acknowledging that is a good start," he said. "But the real question is, how can we make sure this doesn't happen again?" His gaze swept over the small crowd that had gathered. "This isn't just about one person's experience. It's about creating systems that serve people, not just policies." The manager nodded, visibly humbled. "You're right. I'll speak to corporate about revisiting our protocols. Thank you for, well, for everything. But Musk wasn't finished. Turning to the group of onlookers who had been whispering among themselves, he spoke with a calm authority that silenced the room. "We can all do better," he said. "It doesn't take much to show kindness or to step in when someone is struggling. Small actions can make a big difference." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd, and I could see the spark of inspiration in the faces around me. Some nodded, while others looked down, clearly reflecting on their own actions, or lack thereof. Musk's next words surprised me. "I'll be making a donation to local organizations that help cover the cost of medication for those in need," he announced. "No one should have to choose between their health and their survival." The room erupted in quiet applause, a gesture of appreciation not just for his generosity, but for the example he had set. Musk's ability to address the immediate problem while simultaneously looking toward systemic solutions was a masterclass in leadership. He didn't just see the issue, he took steps to solve it, and he inspired others to do the same. As the crowd began to disperse, conversations filled the space. People shared their admiration for Musk, some speaking of how they wished they'd acted sooner to help the elderly woman. The store manager huddled with employees, already discussing ways to improve their approach to similar situations. It was as if Musk's actions had set off a ripple effect, sparking change in ways none of us could have anticipated. For me, standing there amidst the quiet buzz of the store, it was more than just a moment of generosity. It was a profound reminder of the power of empathy. Musk hadn't just paid for the woman's medication. He had stood up for her when no one else did. He had used his voice, his resources, and his influence to make a statement about what truly matters. As I left the store that day, I couldn't help but reflect on what I'd witnessed. Elon Musk, a man known for building rockets and revolutionizing industries, had shown that true greatness isn't just about innovation. It's about connection. It's about seeing someone struggle and choosing to act, even when it's easier to look away. In the days that followed, the story spread throughout the town. People spoke of Musk's gesture not just as an act of kindness, but as a call to action. His donation to local charities made headlines, and it wasn't long before other prominent figures and organizations followed suit, pledging to address the issue of medication accessibility. But for those of us who were there, the memory of that day wasn't about the donations or the headlines. It was about the way Musk had made us all feel, hopeful, inspired, and reminded of our shared humanity. Looking back, I realized that the most extraordinary part of the encounter wasn't Musk's wealth or influence, it was his ability to use those things for good. He didn't just help one person. He reminded all of us that we have the power to stand up for others, to lead with compassion, and to create a world where no one is left behind. As I write this, I can still see the elderly woman's face, her relief and gratitude etched into my memory. And I can still hear Musk's words. Small actions can make a big difference. They echo in my mind, a universal truth that will stay with me forever. If this story inspired you, take a moment to like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to our channel for more uplifting stories that celebrate the human spirit. Together, we can spread the message of kindness and create a ripple effect of positive change. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to check out our other videos for more inspiring moments.